Hi everyone, I'm Mr. Clements here from Horizon ATA,
And I'm Mr. Coley.
and today we're going to talk to you about discipline. Now, I know what you're thinking, what does discipline have to do with martial arts? And in fact, the life skills that you learn are far more important than the punches and kicks and the board breaking that you may do in a karate class. Parents that investigate and parents that look into it see that if you're taking a martial art, if you're taking any form of karate, you may learn discipline, respect, focus, and other things like that. But for today, we want to start with our staple, and that is discipline. Mr. Coley, can you talk to us about what discipline is?
Yeah, discipline. It's like obeying what's right. It's like following the rules. For instance, like at home, you guys may have rules that mom and dad have set for you guys. Maybe brushing your teeth at morning and night. If you play with your toys, you put them away right away. It takes good discipline in order to do those things every single time.
Absolutely, and I would say, Mr. Coley, that's like level 1 of discipline. Just being able to do what you're asked, being able to do what you're told. And for you guys, mom and dad are a very good example of who you should listen to. Now, I know it goes further than that to even teachers at school, or maybe a babysitter or a coach. If someone's in charge, if someone's the leader of what you're working on, then you have to listen to them, right? Not saying that you shouldn't have your own thoughts, but if mom or dad asks you to pick up your toys, you know what you do. You have to pick up your toys. And the thing is, they shouldn't have to ask you more than once. If you're at school and a teacher asks you to put away your pencils or, go get your book bag before dismissal, how many times should your teacher ask you? Once. But there's more to it than that, because that's our level 1 of discipline. But if you can master that, you can move on to the next form, and that is something called self-discipline. Mr. Coley, can you talk to us about self-discipline?
Self-discipline is the ability to motivate ourselves and do what needs to happen. Now, a lot of leaders, they have lots of self-discipline. Now, one great example of self-discipline that you guys can use is just keeping your room clean, even with mom or dad asking. Just making sure it stays nice and tidy.
Absolutely. I mean, before we had talked about how if mom or dad asks you to do something, they should only have to ask you once. But if it's a rule that's been there for quite some time, for instance, brushing your teeth in the morning and night, if you know you have to do that every day, eventually you should get to the point where mom and dad don't even have to ask you. And you just do it on your own, and that's what uses self-discipline is. When you can take that same action, that same responsibility, and handle it yourself. So we can use that as you saw at home, whether it be cleaning up your toys, picking up your room, brushing your teeth, or even at school. If you know that you have to, put your books away in your desk, put your book bag right into the lockers, or whatever it may be, throw out your, remaining lunch after, once lunchtime is done. That's using self-discipline because you realize you know what the rules are, you know what's expected of you, and you act on them before being asked. And once you get that down, you can move forward even further to something called self-control. Now, Mr. Coley, can we talk about self-control a bit?
Self-control is when we can control our actions and our emotions. Now, one way that I think you guys can work on this at home is, I'm sure plenty of you guys have brothers or sisters. Me, I have an older sister and a younger brother. Now, siblings, sometimes they can bother you, they can pick on you, but it takes a lot of self-control to stay calm even when that's happening.
Absolutely, and in karate class, we work on that every single day. Take, for instance, when we do our sparring. This isn't a full contact fighting event. We use our self-control to not only be able to tag your partner with a punch or a kick, but then pull it back instantly. What that means is like a big game of karate tag. You're able to practice your moves, you're able to learn your distance, your timing, but more importantly, you're able to do it in a safe environment because you're not hurting anyone. And that uses that self-control. And if you can have self-control while you're throwing your arms and feet around while you're sparring, it's very easy then to have self-control elsewhere. Just like Mr. Coley said, with your brothers and sisters, you'd have self-control to remove yourself from that situation. You wouldn't fall victim to being the one bullying your brother, bullying your sister, or picking on them. And that's a very important skill to have, and it's one that's tough to master, but I trust that you guys can all handle that. And if and when you get that down, when you have your initial discipline, that self-discipline, and your self-control, then you're ready to move on to that final level. And that last level is self-awareness. Mr. Coley, can you give us a little description of what self-awareness is?
Yeah, self-awareness is understanding that our actions or not taking actions affects the people around us. Self-awareness is really when our discipline goes to more than just us personally, like we talked about in self-control and self-discipline, but it goes to other people around us.
That's a very interesting, hard concept to grasp. I understand that, but you're looking at it from the concept that it's like a ripple effect. What you do, what you say, as Mr. Coley pointed out, what you don't do can also have an effect on the people around you. It's very simply, when you think of a pond and you toss a pebble into it, there's more than the initial splash. There's ripples that go around. And if there's a leaf on that pond, it feels the ripples from it. I know we're getting very metaphorical on that, but the concept is still the same. Everything you do or everything you don't do affects others. And this is when you reach that highest level of discipline. It's more than yourself, it's more than just internal. You see how it affects other people, and it's something that you continue to master throughout your life. There's never a point where you become the pro at discipline, but there are points where you may get better and better and better at it. This is something that adults work on every single day, whether it be in their office, at home, or if they're still going for education. So as a kid, this is something you can master, and this is something that'd be worth talking to mom and dad about, because they're going to be the ones that help you the most. They're the example that they set for you, and they're going to be the ones that feel most comfortable talking with you, because they have an idea of where they want your discipline to go as well. So, let's do a quick recap. Discipline is to do what you're supposed to do, and we know there's different components of it. We have our self-discipline, our self-control, and then eventually our self-awareness. And as you master the different levels of discipline, not only will you become a more complete person, but you'll become a person that has more control of your actions, more control of your thoughts, and the ability to do what you need to do if and when you need to. So I hope this helps. We'll see you guys soon.